Xarian was not used to losing a target. But now, Daniel had disappeared. No human had ever escaped his eyes. He checked again, street cameras, satellite views, phone records. Nothing. It was like Daniel had vanished into smoke. Xarian didn't panic. He was calm, silent, dangerous. He was the best assassin in the galaxy, and he never gave up. He left the apartment and moved into an abandoned warehouse near Daniel's last known location. He set up his equipment, scanners, drones, and listening devices. Earth's technology was old, but Xarian's tools were far more advanced. "Let's begin the real hunt," Xarian whispered. He started visiting the garage where Daniel worked. It was locked. No workers, no lights. But on the wall, someone had written with oil. "Wrong move." Xarian scanned the letters. No fingerprints, no DNA. He searched nearby shops. The coffee vendor who always served Daniel was gone too. A missing person now. The only thing left behind was a burnt coffee cup, and inside the lid was a tiny metal disc. Xarian picked it up. A message played in his ear. "You followed me. Now I'm watching you." Xarian's eyes narrowed. He crushed the disc in his hand. For the next few days, Xarian moved across New York. He searched every shadow, every alley. Still no sign of Daniel. But something was different now. Xarian was being followed. He noticed it first when his drone lost connection. Then his scanner stopped working. One by one, his tools began to fail. Inside his ship, his weapon systems turned off for 1 second, and then came back. Too fast to be a glitch, too precise to be random. Someone was in his systems. Daniel. Late one night, Xarian returned to his ship. The door was open. He rushed inside, ready to attack. But no one was there. Instead, on his command screen, was a video clip. Daniel was standing in a dark room. He was wearing a black jacket, hands behind his back, eyes sharp and calm. He spoke directly into the camera. "You want to hunt? Good. Let's play. But know this, I don't run forever. I strike back." The video ended. Xarian stood still. He now understood. This was no normal human. This was a predator in disguise. Xarian decided to go deeper. He searched secret Earth records. Using stolen access codes, he entered underground human military files. He found something. A closed program called Project Revenant. The file was mostly deleted, but one image remained, blurry, damaged, but clear enough. It was Daniel, younger, in a military uniform. The caption read, "Subject 7, Extreme Survival. No emotions, no fear." Then the file crashed. Xarian's system shut down for 10 seconds. When it restarted, the screen showed one message. "I erased myself for a reason. You brought me back." Xarian was now sure. Daniel was not an accident. Someone had made him, built him, trained him, and now he was awake. Xarian contacted the Intergalactic Shadow Council. He sent them a short report. Target more dangerous than expected. Possible genetic upgrade. I suggest. But before he could finish, his screen glitched. The council's connection was blocked. Xarian was cut off. Daniel had silenced his link to the galaxy. That night, Xarian sat in the dark corner of his ship. He closed his eyes and remembered something from long ago. His first mission, when an alien creature had warned him. "One day, you will hunt something that hunts you back." Xarian opened his eyes. He finally understood what that meant. This wasn't a mission anymore. This was a war between two killers, and only one would survive. Xarian had hunted for over 100 years. He had killed beings with 10 arms, beings made of fire, even invisible assassins. But no one had ever made him feel like this. Hunted. He checked all corners of his ship. He cleaned every system. But still, Daniel's voice echoed inside his mind. "I don't run forever. I strike back. Xarian knew he made his first mistake. He underestimated a human. The next morning, Xarian walked through a quiet street in New York. He wore a hologram disguise, looking like a human businessman. His scanners showed no threats. But he felt watched. A child passed by on a bicycle and looked at Xarian for 2 seconds, longer than normal. Xarian's instinct told him the boy wasn't just playing. He quickly walked into a subway station, trying to vanish in the crowd. But when he looked up at a digital ad screen, the display changed. The ad disappeared. Now the screen showed a symbol, a single white handprint on black. Xarian had seen this before, long ago, in a secret mission on planet Varax. That handprint marked the death site of a whole alien army. Only one creature was blamed, but it was never found. The report said, he moved like a ghost. He killed without sound. He erased his own past. Now that same symbol was here, on Earth. And Xarian finally understood. Daniel was the ghost. He rushed back to his ship. As he entered, red lights flashed. Alarms screamed. His weapon room was open. He ran inside, only to find everything untouched, except for one item, his favorite plasma blade. It was gone. On the wall, written with a laser tool, was one line. You're not the only one who can use a blade. Xarian clenched his fists. His heart beat faster. Daniel had entered his ship, without a sound, without setting off alarms. This wasn't just skill. This was personal. Later that night, Xarian received a message from a fellow assassin named Kal, an alien killer from Xarian's home planet. Kal had come to Earth to help, but the message was not what he expected. Kal's face was full of fear, blood on his armor, sparks in the background. He found me. I didn't see him. 1 second I was walking. Next. A loud scream cut the message. Then silence. Only static. Then Daniel's voice came through. Tell the others. Stop sending killers. I won't warn again. Xarian stared at the screen. Kal was one of the best. Faster than Xarian. And now, gone. This was no longer a simple hunt. This was survival. He knew he had to fight back smarter. Xarian went underground. He visited black market weapon dealers and secret tech builders. He got new cloaking tools, DNA scanners, motion traps, and sound decoys. He created a trap designed to catch even someone like Daniel. He set up a fake garage in an empty city block with a body double of himself inside. He placed hidden explosives around the building. Once Daniel entered, Xarian would lock it from the outside and finish it. But Daniel didn't come. Instead, a small bird flew in through the open window. A mechanical bird. It landed on the desk near the body double and exploded, just enough to burn the disguise but not destroy the building. It was a message. Inside the smoke, Xarian saw a line scratched into the wall. You think you're setting traps, but you're already inside mine. Xarian left the building in silence. The hunter had become the hunted. He walked through the night, feeling the cold wind of Earth on his face. He didn't feel fear, but he felt something strange. Respect. This human wasn't just strong or smart. He was something else, something designed to destroy killers like Xarian. And yet, part of Xarian started to enjoy the game. For the first time in his long life, he had found a worthy enemy. He whispered to himself, I won't run. I will adapt. I will win. But deep in his mind, one thought remained. What if this time I don't? In the dark side of the galaxy, there was a name that brought fear to every planet. Xarian, the alien assassin. He never smiled, never talked too much, and never failed. Kings, warlords, spies. He had killed them all. Some said he was more machine than living being. Some said he had no heart. He worked for the Intergalactic Shadow Council, a group of rich and powerful aliens who controlled planets from the dark. When they wanted someone dead, They didn't send an army. They sent Xarian. One day, Xarian received a strange job. It was the shortest message he had ever read. Kill one human. You can choose anyone. Xarian looked at the message. He didn't understand why someone would pay so much to kill just one human. Humans were weak, small, and emotional. Easy targets. Still, Xarian never asked questions. He set his ship's direction. Planet Earth. When Xarian arrived near Earth, he used a cloaked satellite to scan the planet. His screen showed billions of humans. Children, workers, soldiers, criminals. So many choices. He started checking Earth's cities. One by one, faces appeared on his screen. Politicians, military officers, rich businessmen. All of them seemed boring to him. Too loud. Too watched. Then he saw Daniel. Daniel worked in a small garage in New York City. He fixed cars, cleaned engines, and lived alone in a small apartment. No family. No military record. No social media. Just normal. Xarian smiled. He liked quiet targets. This one would be easy. But just as he confirmed the target, an encrypted message flashed on his screen. It was from an old contact, a black market tech dealer who once worked with Earth intelligence groups. The message was short. Don't pick a human. They're not what you think. Xarian narrowed his eyes. He sent a reply. They are soft. They cry. They die fast. I will choose the human called Daniel. The dealer answered with only one word. Mistake. Xarian ignored the warning. He landed his ship in a hidden area far from human eyes and started watching Daniel from a distance. For the next few days, Xarian followed Daniel. The human woke up at 7 a.m., ate simple food, and walked to work. He talked to no one, except a coffee vendor. He came back home at night, read old books, and slept by 10 p.m. Xarian thought, this is too easy. There was no security, no hidden cameras, no bodyguards. But something felt strange. Xarian had killed thousands. He had a sense, a feeling, when something was wrong. And Daniel gave him that feeling. His face looked calm, but his eyes were always watching. One night, Xarian entered Daniel's apartment while he was out. He scanned the room. Everything was clean, normal. But then he found something behind a fake wall. A small black box with no markings. Inside it were tools, mini-weapons, and a photo of a spaceship that did not belong to Earth. Xarian paused. Why would a car mechanic have alien tools? Before he could search more, the lights flickered. A loud sound came from the window. Xarian turned fast and aimed his weapon. But there was no one. Then a small screen on the wall lit up. A voice came from it. Calm, deep, and very human. You picked the wrong human. Xarian froze. The screen turned off. The apartment went dark again. He quickly returned to his ship and checked his satellite feed. Daniel was gone. No video, no signal, no movement. His worksite was closed, his apartment empty. Xarian searched all digital systems, traffic cams, phone lines, satellite heat scans. Nothing. It was like Daniel had never existed. Xarian stared at his screen. A small line of code appeared on it. In Xarian's own system. I see you, Hunter. The alien assassin leaned back in his chair. For the first time in many years, he felt something strange. It wasn't fear. It was curiosity, and a small whisper of danger. Xarian said to himself, maybe this will not be easy after all. Xarian had hunted monsters, criminals, and soldiers across galaxies. He had always been the shadow behind the kill. But now he was inside someone else's shadow. Daniel, the human who moved like a ghost, disappeared like smoke, and attacked without being seen. He had taken Xarian's weapon, erased Kale, and destroyed every trap. Xarian knew this wasn't about winning quickly. It was a long game now, a game of shadows. Xarian stopped using his ship. It was too easy to track. He moved into an old underground train tunnel. He ate military rations, slept in short cycles, and worked in silence. Every hour he built new defenses. Lasers, motion mines, drone swarms. But he also did something he had never done before. He studied a human. He watched old security footage of Daniel. Every movement, every look. He slowed down the clips, frame by frame. That's when he noticed something strange. In every video, Daniel was always near a mirror, a glass window or water. Always watching his own reflection. Why? Then Zarian remembered a rumor. A secret Earth program had created special soldiers. Soldiers that didn't trust themselves. Soldiers trained to erase emotions, to become pure weapons. To stay in control, they were told to watch themselves, in mirrors, in reflections, so they would not forget who they were. Daniel was one of those soldiers. Maybe the last. Zarian changed his plan. He stopped chasing. He started talking. He found an old radio tower and sent out a short voice message on human military frequencies. Daniel, I know you. You were made to kill. But I don't think that's who you are now. There was no answer. But the next night, Zarian found a mirror in the tunnel. It wasn't there before. And on the mirror, written in red marker, I was made to kill monsters. What are you? Zarian stared at the message. He didn't know what to feel. Was he the monster now? For years, he had believed he was doing justice, removing dangerous people, cleaning the galaxy. But Daniel was different. Daniel wasn't killing for power or money. He was defending something, or someone. 2 days later, Zarian found another message. On the screen of a stolen human phone, a video started playing. It showed a group of scientists standing around a young boy, Daniel as a child. Tubes in his arms, wires on his head. They spoke in cold voices. Subject 7. Remove fear, remove trust, increase reflex speed. If he loses control, shut him down permanently. Then the screen went black. A single text appeared. They built me for war, but I chose peace until you came. Zarian now understood everything. Daniel had escaped that life, hid from the galaxy, chose to live like a normal human, fixing cars, drinking coffee, reading books. And Zarian brought it all crashing down. This was no longer a contract. It was a confession. But Daniel wasn't done yet. The next night, Zarian heard a soft knock. He raised his weapon, opened the door fast, and found a box on the ground. Inside the box was his stolen plasma blade, cleaned, polished, returned, and a note. Now we are even. But if you stay, we're enemies. If you leave Earth, we're done. Zarian stood silently in the tunnel. He had a choice. Kill the most dangerous human in the galaxy, or walk away. He sat for hours, thinking. He remembered Cal's death, the Council's silence, the way Daniel hunted without hate, but with purpose. Zarian whispered. He didn't choose to be this, but he chose not to be worse. At last, he stood up. He burned the mission data, destroyed the contract chip, and walked to the edge of Earth's sky. Inside his ship, he sent one final message to the Shadow Council. Contract failed. Earth is off limits. You want him dead. Send an army, but don't expect them to return. Then he flew away, vanishing into the stars. But far below, in the heart of the city, Daniel stood on a rooftop. He watched the stars above. His voice calm, just a whisper to himself. Let that be your first smart choice. Zarian had left Earth. He had broken his contract, left behind the endless pursuit of the most dangerous human in the galaxy. He flew alone, in silence, lost in the vastness of space. But deep in the shadows, far away from Earth, the Intergalactic Shadow Council did not forgive. They never forgave. In a secret room on a hidden planet, a dark figure sat at a long table, covered with holographic screens. The figure spoke, and his voice was cold. Xarian has failed us. He has betrayed the contract. Around the table, other beings, creatures from across the galaxy, nodded. One by one, they spoke in low voices, their eyes glowing with anger. He left Earth without completing the mission. He's become weak. He is a traitor. One voice stood out, a tall, cloaked alien with red eyes. His name was Vorn. Vorn leaned forward, his voice sharp like a blade. If Xarian will not finish the job, then we will finish it for him. Send the Wrath. The Wrath, the deadliest assassin force in the galaxy, trained to kill with no mercy, no emotion. They had been created for one purpose, to hunt and kill anyone the Shadow Council wanted erased. Vorn turned to a dark screen. A map of the galaxy appeared, with Earth marked in red. Prepare the Wrath. Earth is ours now. Back on Earth, Xarian sat alone in his ship, floating in the cold void of space. He thought of Daniel. His eyes, his calm, his strange choices. Xarian thought about his own past. The first kill, the first contract. How he had been trained to kill without emotion. But Daniel wasn't like that. And now, Xarian was changing. He had given up on Earth. But the truth was, Earth didn't give up on him. Suddenly, an alarm rang inside Xarian's ship. His screen flashed red. Something was coming. Fast. A fleet of ships appeared on his radar. Dark ships, silent. Fast. Xarian's heart raced. The Wrath was coming. He had left the Council, but the Council had never left him. The Wrath arrived in orbit around Earth. Their ships were black as night, with no lights, no markings. They did not need them. They were the most feared assassins in the galaxy. Each ship carried a team of the deadliest beings from every corner of space. Xarian checked his weapons, but he knew something. The Wrath did not kill for money. They killed for the Council. And if they were coming, it meant one thing. They were coming for him. On Earth, Daniel stood on a rooftop once more, staring up at the stars. He knew something was wrong. He had felt it all day, a shift in the air, a sense of danger. Then, a small, quiet voice spoke from behind him. They're coming. They won't stop until you're dead. Daniel turned to see a shadow standing in the alley below. The figure stepped into the light. It was a man, but not like any man Daniel had ever seen. The man was tall, with dark eyes that seemed to see everything. He wore a strange armor, black and metallic, with glowing lines running across it. "Who are you?" Daniel asked. The man's voice was cold. "I am Jarnuk. I came to warn you. The Council has sent their wrath. They will kill everyone on Earth if they have to. But you're their real target." Daniel's face hardened. He had always known the Council would send others after him. But now, the time had come. Meanwhile, Xarian's ship was already in the atmosphere, heading back toward Earth. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had made a mistake. He had left Earth once before, but now, with the Wrath coming, he had no choice but to return. The Shadow Council wanted Earth. They wanted Daniel, and they would stop at nothing to destroy it all. But Xarian wasn't ready to give up yet. He contacted Daniel, sending a message through a secure channel. "Get to a safe place. They're coming for both of us." Back on Earth, Daniel received Xarian's message. He looked up, his eyes cold, determined. "I'm not running anymore," Daniel whispered to himself. The Wrath dropped from their ships, each one landing silently in different parts of Earth's major cities. They moved quickly, setting up traps, tracking systems, ready to hunt. Daniel knew they were here. They were close, and he was ready to fight. Xarian landed near the center of Earth's capital. He walked toward the city, knowing he had to find Daniel before the Wrath did. His every step was heavy with the weight of the decision he had made. He was no longer hunting. Now he was protecting. And Earth's survival depended on him. The streets of Earth's capital were silent, too silent. The towering buildings cast long shadows as if they were waiting, watching. Everywhere, There was a sense of danger in the air. Xarian moved quickly, his eyes scanning every corner, every shadow. He could feel it. The Wrath was here. They were close. The last time Xarian had seen Earth, it was peaceful. But now it felt like a battlefield. And he wasn't here to win anymore. He was here to survive. Meanwhile, Daniel stood at the center of a quiet park. His body was tense, every muscle ready. He had already sensed Xarian's warning. He knew the Wrath were close, but this wasn't the first time someone had come after him. He was done running. Daniel had made a promise to himself long ago. If anyone ever came to finish him, he would fight to the end. In the shadows, the Wrath moved, their dark figures blending with the night. They wore suits of black armor, their faces hidden behind helmets. They did not need to speak. They did not need orders. They were trained for one thing: killing. Each one was a master of their craft, and each one had been sent to hunt Daniel. They were perfect assassins. Xarian was closing in on Daniel. He knew the human's strength, his skills, but he also knew Daniel wasn't invincible. The Wrath would overwhelm him if they got the chance, and Xarian couldn't let that happen. He reached the park and saw Daniel standing alone. His eyes were focused, ready for the fight that was coming. Xarian stepped forward, his voice quiet but firm. "They're here. We don't have much time." Daniel didn't turn to look at him. He simply nodded, his gaze still fixed on the horizon. "I know." The ground shook slightly. The sound of a ship landing in the distance told them the Wrath had arrived. Xarian quickly scanned the area. "Get to cover. I'll take the first one." Daniel didn't hesitate. He disappeared into the shadows, blending with the darkness. The first Wrath appeared, moving silently through the trees. His helmet glowed faintly in the dark, and his footsteps were quick, precise. He held a long, sharp blade. Xarian moved first. In one fluid motion, he activated his cloaking device and rushed forward. The Wrath assassin never saw him coming. Xarian's fist hit him hard in the chest, knocking the assassin to the ground. But the Wrath wasn't alone. The others were close. A second Wrath appeared from behind a nearby building, his energy blade crackling to life. He lunged at Xarian, but the assassin was faster. Xarian rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding the strike. "Daniel!" Xarian shouted. "Now!" Daniel sprang into action. He didn't wait for Xarian's signal. He appeared from the shadows, his own weapons ready, a pair of energy blades in each hand, glowing blue and red. He moved fast, faster than Xarian had expected, and attacked the second Wrath with precision. The Wrath blocked the first strike, but Daniel was already on the offensive. With a swift move, Daniel disarmed him, knocking the energy blade from the assassin's hands. Before the Wrath could react, Daniel slammed one of his blades into the enemy's side, ending the fight in a flash. Xarian watched the battle unfold. He was impressed. Daniel was a beast. But the Wrath were still coming. Two more Wrath emerged from the darkness. This time, they were prepared. They had learned from their mistakes. They came at Daniel and Xarian together, working as a team. One took the high ground, leaping from a rooftop to land behind them, while the other charged in from the front. Xarian met the first attacker head-on, his fists and blades clashing against the Wrath's armor. They fought in close quarters, each blow sending sparks into the air. Xarian's strength was unmatched, but the Wrath's training made them tough opponents. Meanwhile, Daniel faced the second Wrath. The assassin's speed was incredible, but Daniel was faster. He dodged the attack, using his agility to land a hit to the enemy's side. But the Wrath didn't go down that easily. He recovered quickly, striking back with a powerful swipe that cut across Daniel's shoulder. Daniel gritted his teeth, the pain sharp, but he didn't stop. He swung both his blades at the Wrath's legs, taking him off balance, and then finished him with a final, swift strike. Xarian, still locked in combat with his opponent, saw Daniel's victory. But they weren't done yet. The remaining Wrath had heard the fighting. They arrived, a wave of black figures, weapons drawn. There were 3 left. Xarian and Daniel shared a look, both knowing what had to be done. It was now or never. "We take them together," Xarian said, his voice calm. "No mistakes." Daniel nodded. No more words. They moved at the same time. Xarian took on the first Wrath, his strength and speed overwhelming the assassin. Daniel handled the second one, using his agility to outmaneuver every strike, his energy blades cutting through the Wrath's armor like paper. The last Wrath stood alone, watching his team fall one by one. He was no ordinary assassin. He had been trained to handle the best. But so had Daniel. And so had Xarian. They approached him together. The fight was quick, brutal, and decisive. In the end, there was only silence. The Wrath were gone. Daniel looked at Xarian, his chest rising and falling with each breath. "It's over," he said. Xarian didn't answer immediately. He looked at the fallen assassins. The threat was over. For now. But something had changed. Both of them knew it. The streets were quiet now. The battle was over. The night air was thick with the smell of burnt metal and the sounds of distant alarms. Earth was safe. For now. Daniel and Xarian stood together in the empty park, their bodies bruised but alive. The Wrath were gone, but something still hung in the air, something neither of them could shake. Daniel wiped the blood from his arm. His wound was already starting to heal, but he could feel the weight of the battle in his bones. He turned to Xarian, his eyes serious. "You could have left. You could have run and never looked back." Xarian didn't answer right away. He stood still, staring at the wreckage around them. The Wrath had been powerful, unstoppable. But together, they had fought them off. Together, they had won. "I didn't run," Xarian finally said. His voice was steady, but there was a hint of something softer underneath. "I came back to finish what I started. To make sure you didn't have to face them alone." Daniel raised an eyebrow, his lips curling into a slight smile. "And you thought we'd make it out alive?" Xarian nodded slowly, looking into Daniel's eyes. The two of them had faced so much together. It was clear now that their bond went beyond just survival. They were allies, comrades, and maybe even something more. But what came next? Suddenly, the quiet was shattered. A loud boom echoed across the sky. The sound of ships breaking through Earth's atmosphere rang in their ears. They weren't alone anymore. Xarian's eyes narrowed. The Wrath may have been defeated, but the council was not finished. "We didn't win yet," he said. Daniel turned, his face grim. He could feel it too, the tension in the air. Another force was coming. But this time, it wasn't the Wrath. This was the Shadow Council itself. The people who had sent the assassins. They had one last card to play. High above them, massive ships appeared, blocking out the stars. Their dark silhouettes cast shadows over the city. The council's fleet was here. Xarian looked at Daniel, his eyes hard. "We don't have much time." Daniel nodded, his expression determined. He had been a soldier, a weapon, his entire life. But now, he wasn't fighting for someone else's war. He was fighting for his home. "Then let's finish this." They both turned toward the city. The Shadow Council had sent their army, but they had underestimated something. They had underestimated human will. The first blast came from the Council's ships, a single energy pulse that ripped through the sky, targeting the heart of the city. The buildings trembled, and the ground beneath them shook. "They're trying to wipe us out," Daniel said, his voice low but calm. Xarian nodded. They had to act fast. The Council would not stop until Earth was destroyed. "We can't stop them from the ground. We need to take the fight to them." Daniel understood. They had to fight the Council head-on, in the sky. But how? Xarian looked around, his sharp eyes scanning the park for any sign of escape. His gaze landed on an old hangar, abandoned and forgotten. Inside, hidden under tarps and dust, was a ship, an old but powerful model. We take my ship. We get to the fleet and fight them where they live. The two of them ran to the hangar. The old ship was a relic, but it was fast, and it had been built to handle the worst kinds of battles. Xarian's hands flew over the controls, bringing the ship to life. The engines roared to life, and within moments, they were soaring into the sky. As they broke through the atmosphere, the Council's fleet loomed ahead. The massive ships were like floating cities, their weapons charged, ready to destroy. But Xarian and Daniel didn't hesitate. They flew toward them, as if they were two small ships against the storm. We can't take them all down, but we can give them a reason to rethink Earth, Xarian said. Daniel didn't speak. He just gripped the controls, his mind focused on one thing: survival. The first ship they encountered was huge, a fortress in space. Xarian aimed the ship's weapons and fired a round of plasma blasts, hitting the enemy ship with a direct strike. The ship shook, but didn't fall. Not enough, Xarian said. We need to get inside. He pulled the ship into a dive, heading toward the Council's flagship. The massive craft was surrounded by smaller fighter ships, but they weren't fast enough to catch them. Xarian's ship darted through the flurry of fire, dodging every shot, as if the danger were a second skin. We board it, Daniel said, his eyes flashing with determination. Let's finish it. They punched through the enemy's defenses, breaking into the belly of the Council's flagship. The two of them dropped into the control room, weapons drawn. The Council was waiting. But Xarian and Daniel weren't afraid. Together, they fought. Together, they pushed forward. And when it was done, the Council's ship fell. The city below was safe. The Shadow Council was finished. And Xarian and Daniel stood in the heart of the wreckage, their faces bloody but determined. Daniel looked at Xarian, his voice calm but heavy. What happens now? Xarian looked out at the stars. Earth was safe, but both of them knew that the war was far from over. There would be more enemies, more battles. But they had made it this far. Now, we fight for a better future. Daniel nodded. He didn't need to ask for anything more. For the first time in his life, he was free. And so was Xarian. Together, they turned to face the horizon. The galaxy was waiting. The end.